Hello and welcome to the 58th episode of The Real List, a podcast about our real list. I'm your host, Ellis.
And I'm your host, Gloria, and today's selection is from me again.
The fourth out of three, the third out of fourth in a row. The fourth out of three in a row, yeah.
This is John Wick, Chapter 3, Parabellum.
This one has a subtitle.
Yeah.
We've actually watched them all with subtitles because I'm deaf.
Yeah, and I can't hear TV without subtitles.
Yeah. I try really hard to not just look at the words. I'm really bad at not just looking at the words. That's why I like just like turning the volume up and not having subtitles on. But I'm not going to have that fight with you. So subtitles
we are not going to have subtitles in the movie theater when we go see the fourth one.
That's true. We are going to see the fourth one tomorrow.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll really get our live. We'll see if the movie theater experience enhances these movies. This was...
I wonder, because I've never seen any of these movies in theaters.
I'm surprised with how much you raved about them.
Well, my dad has a nice home-built theater in the living room.
He does have a projector.
Yes.
Yes. But did you had seen this one before, right? Once,
yes,
you said?
Yes, once.
And... pretty much, the same sort of cast and crew as last time. A lot of the main characters from last time actually survived to make it into this one. I'll do it, because you said you wanted me to do the intro, because you're overworked.
Yeah.
But yeah, Keanu Reeves, Halle Berry, Lawrence Fishburne, Mark Dacascos, who is, like, John Wick's #1 fan.
Mm-hmm.
I loved his character. We need to talk about him.
Oh God.
Asia Kate Dion, Lance. Asia Kate Dion. What a role. Lance Reddick, Angelica Huston, and Ian McShane.
Ms. Morticia Adams herself.
That's true. But yeah, same sort of setup with direction, screenplay. Although I think Keanu was credited in the screenplay previously. In the last movie or the one before it, I can't recall. But yeah, Chad, director, Derek Kolstad, Shay Haddon, Chris Collins, Mark Abrams, all credited with screenplay. Yeah, and something to say about these movies is they're doing pretty well, having been not adapted from anything. I know I was just talking about that when we were doing Down Periscope. Mm-hmm. I appreciate the fact that these aren't like an adaptation of a book series.
Yeah, they were just basically pulled out of thin air.
They were pulled out of thin air so that stuntmen could do stunts. Mm-hmm. This is literally
this
just
is a movie for stuntmen. Yes,
and I'm gonna be kinder to this movie than I was to the previous one. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if it's better, but
you're not sure if it's better.
I will be kinder because I really enjoyed this one. Is action all the way through?
Yes, it is, because it's John fighting for his life, basically. Like, I mean, he's never stopped fighting for his life, but I mean, it's more so him now fighting for his life.
Yeah, well, he gets here off of being
excommunicado.
Being excommunicado because of his own impulsiveness.
Yeah.
I know there are, like, people who would say otherwise, but no, that's just his impulsiveness. And then there's plenty of more of that in the film. He is slowly becoming unwound as this trilogy goes on, and I think I'm just getting used to that. Mm-hmm. Like, he goes and does this whole thing with the Ruska Romana, or Ruska Roma, to, like, get to Casablanca, and then he does this whole thing with Halle Berry to get to, what's his name, whose name I don't remember.
The High Table?
Yeah, the High Table individual, and then he goes, like, wanders into the desert to meet with the guy above the High Table, which just more of the world unfolding. Less so than I thought, but I really wish they would lay out some more firm rules around who does what. Like,
who's the boss? Who's the one in charge?
We're getting to this point in this movie series where I wish I feel like I ought to know a lot more about how the organization works. But since we're seeing it all mostly through John's eyes, there are things that we're just not seeing. I assume it's all there in the shop notes. I mean, do you feel like that? Do you feel like hierarchy, maybe not the hierarchy, but the organization of the whole thing is a little confusing.
It is. It is a little confusing because when I first watched John Wick 1, I was like, okay, so there's just this ring of assassins? Like, is this what we're doing? And, like, they have a high table, they have these rules they have to follow. Like, who made these rules? Where are those people who made those rules?
They don't even mention the high table until the second movie.
Yeah.
And the thing that I kind of wish they'd spent more time with, or, and this is just thinking from, like, a Doyleist sort of point of view, I wish they'd spent more time with, like, the dude that's, the Russian dude whose son stole his car, the person he kills in the first movie,
Vigo.
Vigo, yes, right.
Vigo!
I wish they had woven him into this a little bit more,
Mm-hmm.
I understand that he's, like, a grunt compared to the high table people, but...
Well, Vigo's dead.
Well, yeah, but was a grunt compared to the high table people. But he did, like... John Wick got out because of something he did for Vigo.
Mm-hmm.
Who was Vigo to have the authority to let this man retire? It doesn't seem like he would have had the authority to let this man retire, because there's, like, at least 2 levels, if not more, levels of hierarchy above him.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone above him seems to have a stick up their rear end about what you can and can't do.
Yeah, I mean, he chopped his finger off just to keep his life.
Yeah, right.
He chopped his friggin' finger off, his ring finger off.
With the ring on it.
With the ring on it, to pledge his fealty to the high table.
And then immediately betrayed them.
Yeah.
And then
yeah.
Like, the moment he meets with Winston, he's just like, no, I guess I'm on your side. And then he gets betrayed by Winston at the end of the movie. Which is absolutely brutal, by the way.
I don't think it was a betrayal.
Well,
I feel like it was planned. I feel like it was discussed.
Planned by who?
I don't know. Both parties?
I don't think so. I don't think for a second that John expected to be blasted.
Where did he go then?
What do you mean, where did he go? We know where he went. We saw it at the end of the movie. He was picked up by what's-his-face, who survived getting the 7 cuts.
The Bowery.
The Bowery. He's with them now. Which, I was going to this movie hoping, like, oh my god, he's going to be on his own. Well, I was thinking he's going to be on his own. And then I thought he's going to go to, like, some other ring of assassins, like the rival ring. He's going to go to the Pepsi, to these guys' Coca-Cola, right? And I thought that's what he was doing, but no, he went to somebody who is under the high table, who owed him a favor, gets this passage, whatever, and then when he goes to finally meet with Ian McShane's character, he, I was like, oh my god, he's finally going to have somebody on his side. Because through this whole thing, I thought he was going to find an ally. Through this whole thing, I thought he was going to find an ally, and then Halle Berry is sort of helpful, but really just flies off the handle.
She's a boss bitch in this movie, okay?
She just flies off the handle like he does.
She is a badass bitch, and she loves her dogs.
That much is true.
Okay? The scene where they're in the desert, and she's like, you're going to die out here, and she gives him the water, she drinks it, swishes it around in her mouth, and then spits it back in the bottle. Badass.
People will pay money for that. But anyway, yeah, it just, and then he meets with the person above the high table, and then he goes back to New York, and then he meets with Winston, and then he doesn't kill him, and I'm thinking, oh, okay, like, his allies never last more than, like, 10 minutes of screen time. Not by being not alive, but just by not being around him anymore. Like, he's this legendary dude, but the dude who, like, gives him the most attention is the guy trying to kill him. His number one fan, Mark Dacascos.
Yeah, his, like, number one fan. Like, I couldn't get over that. They were sitting in the friggin' Continental waiting area for the manager, and he's just standing there, and then he sits as close as he possibly can to John, and
We're
John,
the same.
And yeah, he's like, we're the same, you know? And then he gets up and sits in another seat and then proceeds to move closer, and he's like, we're one of the same here, you know? we're both killers. You know, we love to do what we do. Oh, you're a dog man when the dog came.
Yeah, and he's like, oh, I'm more of a cat person. And honestly, that I should have been so much more annoyed by that character than I was.
Is he more annoying than Spinell?
Oh my god, no, not even close. They're not even on the same planet. But I feel like I should have been more annoyed by him. But I was at least a little bit entertained. This is another movie we watched in 2 pieces because we were falling asleep.
Yeah, I fell asleep for like 20 minutes.
It was not 20. It was like less than 5. But I was just like, you alright? And you go, I just woke up. And I went, okay, let's watch the rest of this movie a different time.
It was my first day of work, too.
Yep. But yeah, the organization is bizarre. I feel like he's maybe gained an ally at the end of this movie.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, because the enemy of my enemy is my friend, they sort of picked up John Wick in a shopping cart and brought him to Mr. Bowery.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Bowery, I don't remember what his name is. It just says the Bowery King. Was he ever given a name?
No.
But yeah. I don't know, there's just so much, like, for a 2-hour-long movie, there is an appropriate amount of stuff going on, but the first half of it just seems like wandering through the world of assassins.
This movie made a lot of money.
Yeah, I'm sure it did. But
I had a question, but oh wait, there we go. So was it the same marker that Winston gave him?
I think so. I can't imagine it was a different marker. That's sort of a weird Chekhov's gun if he gave him that marker and then the one that he uses is a different marker. I'm pretty sure that's the one. I can only assume that's the one that Winston gave.
Mm-hmm.
But I do like that he's pulling in all these favors with these incredibly powerful tools, despite the fact that he's excommunicado.
Mm-hmm. How about the scene in the library where...
It seems like the only way they could have made this plot work. Go on.
Oh, sorry.
No, go on.
I like the scene in the library in the beginning of the movie. When he's, like, in the library and he's like, what's his name? He's the basketball player. The tall guy he fights in the beginning of the movie.
I don't remember who that was. He was a tall guy. What does he say to him? What about it?
He's like, 14 million is a lot of money.
Yeah.
He's like, I still have time. And he's like, yeah, but 14 million's a lot of money.
You know what's yeah, and he said no one will know the difference or whatever.
Yeah.
You know what's funny is that he says that no one will...
Yeah, there we go. Him.
Oh, Boban Myra, I don't even know how to pronounce that. But currently the tallest NBA player. That's interesting.
Man's tall.
Man is very tall. It's funny how he says, oh, no one will know the difference,
mm-hmm.
to kill John Wick, and then when John Wick is with the doctor, the doctor's like, they'll never know that I stopped directly at 5. It's kind of funny what they know and what they don't know. I don't know, it's just a weird parallel that I noticed at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, that was a little weird. I did notice that. But I mean, I don't know. This movie is kind of wishy-washy with the rules and like what they can and can't do, or who will not know what is going on.
I mean, I think it might be an improvement over the last movie with how the rules are. Like, we get shown that there are consequences.
Yes.
For breaking all the rules. There was a consequence for Winston, which led to like the one act of this movie where they're defending the hotel, which is a really great sequence.
Jonathan, do what you do best. What is
hunt.
that? Hunt.
But it shows that the people that sort of pull out the stops or break the rules or bend the rules for John Wick end up suffering for it.
Yeah.
The thing that I don't understand is that everyone suffers by just being beat up, basically. The Russian woman gets the sword through her hands. The Bowery King gets slashed up, but clearly...
Seven slashes.
Yeah, 7 slashes, but not killed. Who just receives pain? uh, somebody is told, your punishment is just pain. I think it was somebody else. I can't remember what. I can't remember who. But uh, it might have been one of those two. But I just don't remember which one they said.
I don't know either.
But just the punishments for doing things seem so weird and arbitrary and like like they don't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Russian woman gets a sword through her hands. Okay, like I know that hurts. I know it's awful, but
I don't think she was Russian.
Well, it was the Ruska Roma, so I would assume she's Russian. Why don't you think she was Russian? Okay.
Her accent wasn't giving me Russian lady.
That's fair, I guess.
She sounded more Spanish than Russian.
Yeah. Also, the assassin's name Zero, which is not something I knew. Oh, okay, yeah. So as penance for stab through the hands. It's a Christ thing, which I did not get. But either way, it just seems like the most bizarre punishment because it doesn't actually punish anyone. It's like it's like the equivalent of when Norfolk Southern derails a train and destroys an entire town, and their fine is like 50 grand. It's like, ooh, that'll get them. That'll show them. They definitely won't do it again after that. And I'm just looking at these and going like, okay, so they slashed somebody up, but it did not that doesn't prevent them from breaking the rules again. It doesn't even really discourage them from breaking the rules, I feel like. Like, it sucks, but it's like, okay, if this is the price that I'm going to pay to bend these rules, it's just a price.
Giordani.
Yeah. Like, for an organization that is about killing people, you'd think they would have killed more people.
Yeah, I mean, I understand because it's a penance. It's not really like you're gonna die, but like
yeah, I just don't get why they do it that way.
It's more of a warning. Like I don't know.
I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. This movie is driven by, just as sort of the last movie. All movies, I guess you could say the theme of these three is being driven by short-sighted decisions, or not thinking things all the way through. Like, it's about consequences. They say that multiple times in the movies. Or in this movie, they actually sort of write that theme out for you. Consequences. Like, yes, to go back to the first movie, the consequences of killing John Wick's dog and stealing his car is death. But for John Wick, the consequences of making that decision to go, here I go killing again, are being brought back into this life. There is a coherent sort of message here if you want to dig for it. Just, I'm still sort of at odds with the way that the characters and the world work. It just seems nonsensical sometimes.
Yeah.
It's just bizarre. It's a road trip through the bizarre and short-sighted decisions of a world full of hitmen in the service of the action movie gods. This is Fast and Furious for gun nuts. It's just what it is to me. I know it's not necessarily, but it's just like, remember, I say never having seen them. Remember when the Fast and Furious movies were about cars and racing? And I know that John Wick was never about, like, guns in particular, but it's just like, it's I don't know. It's a worthwhile parallel for me, and it's just that thing that I have to put into my head and know that these films are just ridiculous, because you're going to get good fight scenes and choreography, good gunfights, and this, like, twisty-turny world, which in and of itself is still reasonably entertaining.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I was entertained, and granted, I was falling asleep.
Yeah, I was going to say, you weren't awake.
But I did enjoy the second half of the movie. I feel like my favorite scene has to be the scene where they're defending the Continental.
Yeah, that is a really, really good scene, like I said, and the body armor and stuff. Um, you know what would have made John's getting blasted and falling off the roof that much better, or more foreshadowed? If he at one point, and I might have missed this, he might have done it, but picks up a piece of the body armor from one of the guys that he killed. It would be cool if we saw him be like, alright, I'm going to switch to this now, and put that on, like, and then put his suit jacket over it. Yeah. Not saying that he wouldn't have survived because he has the suit-lined armor already, but...
Who's to say that when he got cleaned up that the elders didn't provide him with the suit that was already made like that?
Maybe. Maybe. It just doesn't seem like it... The armor that they were wearing doesn't seem like it would fit in the form factor of the suit. I just feel like it's not about whether or not that he had it. Mm-hmm. It's about them showing us, the audience, that he is choosing to put on this body armor. And us going, I wonder what that will be useful for. And then when he gets blasted by Winston...
Then we would have known, the connection would have been made.
Exactly. That's the kind of thing that you think about when you write a narrative. And this is not me trying to diss the writers for this movie, because again, they put together an interesting narrative that draws you through all these places and has all this, fight choreography and stuff. But these movies don't do subtle, like I said last time.
No, definitely not.
So, they need to be blatant with the foreshadowing and everything like that if they're going to do it. Now, I don't think they did it, so it doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. But I'm saying they could have. But yeah. Now, it's important that they're getting a spin-off film? Okay.
What?
A ballerina set between the events of John Wick 3 and John Wick 4. It's got Ian McShane, Keanu Reeves. In the film, the ballerina assassin... Oh, it's got Ana de Armas as the star. That's great. Hunts those who killed her family.
Oh.
Okay, I mean, I'll go see this. Because that's really neat. I mean, it sounds interesting. More stuff set in this world. I want to see more of this world. And also, Ana de Armas is awesome. And more of Ian McShane, please. And also Keanu Reeves. But...
We actually learned... Did we mention this last time?
What?
That Keanu Reeves is the Stunt Canada guy from Toy Story?
Oh yeah, he's Duke Kaboom.
Duke Kaboom.
From Toy Story 4. I did not realize it, and the moment I was told that, I couldn't unhear it. And
I actually found footage of Keanu in the booth just doing the movements with the sounds he's making.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great. Love it.
Oh my god. Yeah, no, this is a pretty cool one. I think this is better. Is it better than the last one, or have I gotten more used to it? I'm being kinder to this than the last one. It's definitely not worse. I'll say that. It's definitely not worse than the last one. It doesn't take so long to get off the ground. In fact, it starts immediately. But, yeah. Are you ready for Chapter 4? We're gonna watch it tomorrow. It's 3 hours long. It's 3 hours long. We're gonna have to sneak a lot of snacks into that movie theater. 169 minutes. Nice.
This movie made
it's made $100 million more than the current one. Also, don't read the plot synopsis. I don't know why I opened that.
I wasn't going to.
I didn't either. I sort of forgot that that's what's in the thing. I like how John has all this stuff hidden around
the world in general, like the library with the book.
Yeah, which is so neat,
This man just conquers the world. It was basically John Wick against the world at that point in this movie.
Oh, it absolutely was, and I feel like that's exactly what they set us up for. It's just at every turn he has an ally. I was sort of hoping, not knowing anything about this movie going in, I was sort of hoping that this movie would be him, running off into the wilderness and being like a Dexter type and fighting off bad guys that are coming at his little cabin for, at least a little while, and then he decides, okay, this isn't sustainable, I need to go get in contact with somebody. Mm-hmm. But instead, he doesn't get out of New York City.
I'm excited for number 4, though. I wonder what it has in store for us.
I really don't know what we're getting into. Because
the way that this movie ended, it was the Bowery King and was like, I'm really fed up, John. How about you? And he's like, yeah.
Oh, right! Character development! I wanted to talk about that!
Okay.
John Wick is so much more, like, responsive in this movie than the previous two. He actually responds to people. I know it's like single-word responses, but that is the most character development in this entire franchise thus far, is that he's learned to say, yeah, instead of just walking away after someone asks him to do something. Like...
He's gonna kill me. Uh-huh.
Yeah, I know, like that. But he's come a long way since then. I wish I could remember what the instances were. And I was just like, John's changed. He's changed. He wouldn't have said anything to that. Even when Winston says, do what you do best, and he says, what? And Winston says, hunt.
Mm-hmm.
Movie 1, John Wick, Winston would have said, do what you do best, and he would have just walked out the door.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, the Matrix reference with the we need guns, lots of guns, that didn't go over my head, even though I haven't seen the Matrix yet. That's on the list, I think.
Yes, it is.
Do we own them? Did we get a box set of those?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Star ratings?
Yeah, let's do star ratings. I'm really kind of torn. Do you know?
No.
Yeah, okay, let's think about this. It's definitely not lower than the last one. I don't know if I could call this one better, but I was definitely less...
I'll give it a 4.
You're gonna give it a 4? My suspension of disbelief was definitely broken less in this movie than the previous one. Maybe because I'm attuned to it now. But less of what John does. And betraying Winston, that's more character development. He would have just blasted Winston's head off. I'm sure. Chapter 1, John Wick.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm sure he wouldn't hesitate. Well, he probably will. Yeah. My suspension of disbelief is more intact because it feels like the villains aren't completely incompetent. I don't understand why the adjudicator did not just burn the Continental to the ground, metaphorically. I don't know what the point of parlaying really was, from their point of view.
Well, the men that she sent in was getting killed.
Yeah, I know that, but more of attrition, right? You could just starve them out. Put up a blockade around it. But, like, yeah, it just seems like, where in the previous movie, crazy major decisions were made and then they just dumped the plot forward.
Mm-hmm.
This seems like crazy major decisions were made and then they were immediately gone back on. Like, killing the head of the Bowery King, he's not dead. Going to Casablanca and meeting with the guy above the high table to pledge your fealty, immediately betrayed. And betraying the guy above the high table to side with Winston, immediately betrayed. Like, it's just a movie of betrayals, like, and John Wick is stuck in the middle.
Yeah.
Just unable to make up his mind about how he wants to live out the rest of his life, and continually making his situation worse as a result of it. Like, if they find a way to Deus Ex Machina him into being under the high table again after movie number 4, I think I'm going to lose my mind. Because what are we going to get? The guy above the high table? Is he going to talk to God? God is the greatest assassin you've ever seen.
Is God.
That's fair. 4 stars.
4 stars. Look at that.
I don't know why I'm giving it 4 stars, but I am.
Because it's Keanu.
That's fair. The extra half a star is because Duke Kaboom is cool. Yeah. I don't know. It just seems like a series of bad decisions, because John Wick has become a broken man who doesn't know who to side with. And no one really wants to side with him, because he's just like a walking hurricane of bullets.
His wife is dead. His puppy's dead. He ain't got nobody else but himself and Dog.
Speaking of which, where is Dog?
Dog was with him.
Dog was with him when he got dropped off at the Bowery?
Yeah.
Okay, I did not...
Dog was, like, walking underneath the carriage, like,
I did not notice that. I did not notice that. I was like... It just occurred to me, I was like... Did he leave Dog in the hotel?
No. Dog is with him.
Anyway, by the way,
dog fell off the building with him.
By the way, if they can close the Continental for fumigation, the one favor, like instead of the favor being, I'm giving you an hour to not be murdered by every single person on the planet at the end of John Wick 2, the one favor that Winston should have gave him is kicking Santino D'Antonio out of the hotel so John Wick can blast him in the face on the sidewalk.
Yeah, that would have been nice.
Then we could have ended this series. But no, 3 more movies, including Ballerina, and we'll see where it goes from there. So, it's called The Elder, by the way. The guy above the high table.
Oh, The Elder.
The Elder. They're playing XCOM. Anyway, speaking of strategy games, Gloria and I need to go play some Portal.
Okay.
You know what's always funny to me? It's funny because when we're playing Portal, she acts like it's the worst thing in the world, and then guaranteed within 24 hours after we finish one of those recording sessions, Gloria will turn to me and go, I want to play Portal.
You know what?
It's true. It's happened every time so far.
Ah.
We'll see you next week
Bye.
with more John Wick.